MAGA is done. Have you noticed that they haven't been around much at all? There's a couple of reasons for this. The most obvious is that Trump doesn't need them anymore. He literally doesn't need MAGA anymore. There will be no more rallies. He used them and got everything he needed from them. He doesn't need them anymore. He is done with MAGA. And MAGA is in the corner quietly crying because they're done with him. And you want to know why? Because MAGA are food stamps. Yeah. Probably one of the biggest recipients of SNAP, food stamps, welfare, MAGA. Oh, and how about the no taxes on tips and no taxes on overtime, MAGA? That wasn't in the bill. That's not in the bill. That is not on the agenda. They keep telling you that it is, but it's literally not. MAGA are poor. MAGA need Medicaid. MAGA no have Medicaid. Soon. Tariffs hurt MAGA. MAGA no like tariffs. MAGA are farmers. Farmers are MAGA. Farmers hurting. MAGA hurting. Trump is canceling federal programs. A state like California, where I live, they can afford to pick up the tab for those programs for the state of California. But states like Oklahoma, no, they're not going to be able to afford that once Trump kills those federal programs. MAGA no like that. But Trump don't care. Trump no like MAGA anymore. Trump no need MAGA. Trump no more MAGA rallies. So what's MAGA going to do to change this? That's up to them, because me no care. Trump no care. You no care. MAGA are on their own.
This news from the DNC. Before I do, I want to talk about Jared Goldman as a segue. He's a Democratic House rep from the state of Maine. And for those of you who maybe sometimes ask, what do you liberals or leftists mean by centrist Democrats? Centrist Democrats are generally Democrats who vote at the request of their corporate donor base. First and foremost, centrist Democrats often vote along with Republicans at times because they're both serving the same corporate donor base. And centrists, we believe, many on the left believe, they're the reason that we have Donald Trump, because the Democratic Party historically has been one for the working class, run by the working class. And you could, as a working class American, you could relate to your Democratic representatives. And the centrists, there's so many of them now, you can't relate to them because they're not, they come across as elitists. They don't push for economic policies that are going to help the working class. And when you look at how they vote a number of times along with Republicans just to benefit corporate America, the donor base. That's why a lot of us believe they're the reason we have Donald Trump, why the Democratic voters, a lot of the working class left the Democratic Party to fall for the lies of Donald Trump. Okay, so Jared Goldman is what you call a centrist. When the Democrats a few weeks ago submitted a bill in the House to stop Donald Trump's tariffs, across the board tariffs with no logic, no reason, no economic formulas, nothing, Jared Goldman was the Democrat that voted with Republicans to block it, okay? According to Progressive Punch, he earned a score of an F in terms of how many times he voted with Republicans against policies that would help Americans. And he got a designation of leans Republican. So he's really more Republican light running on a Democratic ticket. Here's the funny thing. The Heritage Foundation ranks every member of Congress, including Democrats. So like if you pull up AOC, oh my God, they give her this horrible grade and all the horrible things she did, to help people like earn a living, get their rights back. And then there's all these initiatives for white nationalists to take her down. But if you pull up Jared Goldman's page on Heritage Foundation, there's nothing. He's not even pissing off the Heritage Foundation. So back to the article I run into the weed and the segue. This is called David Hogg Run Group announces $20 million initiative to support primary challengers to House Democrats. Leaders We Deserve, a political organization led by Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting survivor and Democratic National Committee Vice Chair David Hogg, announced Wednesday that it will spend $20 million to help elect younger leaders, including primary challengers to House Democrats who are in safely Democratic seats. Quote, the first most important thing here is to understand it isn't necessary just out with the old and in with the new. I would say it's out with the ineffective and in with the effective. That is what we are doing here, Hogg, 25, told ABC News' Jay O'Brien Wednesday afternoon. Any person that has eyes can see that we are 27% approval with our base, and we need dramatic change. The move puts Hogg, a member of party leadership, as one of its vice chairs, at odds with the party establishment, the centrists. And they have all the money, by the way, centrists. And other Democratic leaders, also centrists, who usually shy away from supporting challengers to Democratic incumbents. But it comes as Democratic-aligned voters express discontent with how the Democratic Party is responding to the second Trump administration, and as some within the party call for a new generation of leadership and representation in Congress amid consternation with some older House and Senate Democrats. Quote, while President Donald Trump creates new existential crisis every day, too many elected leaders in the Democratic Party are either unwilling or unable to meet the moment, he added in an earlier statement. So I'm not going to read it all, but he's already being attacked, by the Nancy Pelosi's and you name it. The power that the centrist Democrats, the established Democrats have across this country is crazy. I commend him. I know there's a lot of criticism that he's really left or really extreme, but I support this. What I'm committed to doing is paying attention to who his organization is endorsing. Midterms are coming up, and I'm looking to see that the organization's endorsing somebody running against Jared Golden in the Democratic primaries in May, just before 2026 midterm elections. So there you go.
So something really weird is going on with the Trump administration over the last 2 or 3 days. And let me just preface this by saying during his first term, Trump surrounded himself with evil and vile human beings, yes. But they knew the laws and they kind of knew what they were doing. Like, they weren't experts, but they were okay. What is a problem this time around is that he just selected people who pat him on the head and tell him good job and are his friends and acquaintances from the WWE and I guess Fox and Friends. So they don't have any government expertise. It's not like these people are a bunch of lawyers even who are kind of familiar. But because that has been his way, his approach this time, I think we're going to start seeing through the cracks. See, they're trying to build a shield or a veil, but over the last 2 days, there have been some incidences of that sort of falling away. First, take a look at this clip from Wednesday, April 16th this week.
Does anyone have any questions for Patty or for me? No? I have a question. No. You ready? Okay. I'll see you all later.
Well, that was weird. We have evidential proof in front of our eyes and with our ears that people had questions, and then she just pretended not to see or hear them. Way to go, Caroline with 3 Ks. But then this happened today after Dr. Oz was sworn in, and this is even weirder. And that whole everybody out, everybody get out right now, no photos, all of those words were again coming out of Caroline with 3 K's mouth. So what is going on? I don't have an answer to this other than there's a lot of things they don't want us to know or see, which is a duh moment for me. But why? What is this about? Does anyone out there have an idea of what this could be or why this keeps happening in the last week?
All right, it is a white shirt day. I know I'm not wearing my white shirt, but pretend I am because I didn't want to sit indoors all day and I can't wear a white shirt into the outdoors because it'll get destroyed. Anyhow, we need to talk about something rather serious, which is China published a white paper letter on the 9th, and they chose number 9 for a specific reason, 9th of April here, outlining the problems they're having with the United States in terms of trade and economics. And in that paper is effectively a not so subtle threat to the United States. Now, back in December, Donald Trump said that any country, any BRICS country specifically, that would circumvent the United States currency, the US dollar, would face a 100% tariff. Now, in this paper, they reaffirmed that they are going ahead to be working in local currencies, making trade agreements and working with banking systems that are not the US SWIFT system, that do not utilize US dollar. So that's them basically giving a big finger to Donald Trump, saying we're going to ignore that threat. And right now, China's under 145% tariffs, right? Well, in the paper, they were very clear that they've done everything that was required of them legally in terms of maintaining trade agreements, in terms of importing more US goods like they agreed to in the last round of negotiations. They have capitulated in terms of making sure that there are strong IP protections and copyright protections and trademark protections and enforcing that and creating new legislation for it and new policing basically around that specifically. And so in this paper, they are going through and they are very, very carefully and structurally laying out all of the ways that they can hurt the US if the US decides to continue this aggressive action against them. And the reality is, they have the power effectively to eliminate 1/3 of the US economy by ignoring these things like IP protection and trademarks and copyrights. Because if there isn't a trade agreement, which technically now there isn't because Trump did violate the trade agreement, so they could say on a legal basis that they're throwing it out the window, it doesn't apply anymore. And there goes all of those protections. And one thing they've also clearly laid out in that is that they were enforcing a policy that there wouldn't be forced assimilation of technology, and that's basically reverse engineering. Now, that's something they're very, very good at, and they have been for a very long time. I don't think anybody has ever been ignorant of that. And in this situation where they're going, if you continue to tariff us like this, we are going to throw these agreements out the window, that puts the US in a very tedious position. Actually, not even tedious. That puts them in the worst position they could possibly ever be in. Because China, first off, has started manufacturing the RISC-V chip, which is a processor chip in competition with like Intel and AMD and stuff like that, except it's open source. And open source technologies tend to accelerate, they tend to evolve much more quickly than proprietary stuff. So the fact they're manufacturing this and putting this out there for anybody to buy is a big thing. It's threatening basically the entirety of the US chip production. They also are working on technology, and they've actually published it now, that they can print a computer chip that's two-dimensional effectively. It's only 1 atom thick, which is something that Intel said they're going to do by 2027. So they're ahead of them in that game. They just came out saying they managed to run a fusion reactor for over 1,000 seconds, which is now a new record. No one's managed to do it more than, I think, 500 seconds. So they doubled the record. So they are leaders in technology now, and it's not surprising when you look at their education system, because the US has their Ivy League, which is a mix of like legal, arts, sciences, yada, yada, yada. China's universities are primarily technological universities, and they produce twice as many graduates out of their Ivy League system, which is called the C9, I believe, or 9C. There's 9 of them that are qualified in their terms as Ivy League schools. There's 8 in the United States, but they produce twice as many graduates. But they actually have about 38 schools that are at the Ivy League, producing like almost 1 million students. So the United States is in some serious trouble, because now you have a very qualified civilian workforce that is capable of outpacing the US workforce without any issues at all whatsoever. So the United States really needs to back off on their position, and Canadians need to be aware of this too, because Mark Carney actually said the biggest threat right now is China, and he's not wrong. Because if you're on the bad side, yes, they are a threat to you. If you're on their good side, great trade buddy, or can be a great trade buddy if the agreements work out well. So I would expect you see him to addressing those tariffs against China ASAP, because right now we're in a very bad position. We don't want to be in this position where we have tariffs on them, where they waited several months, because we put them back in October and they only this last month said that, hey, okay, we're going to tariff Canada as well. And we should be looking at that, restructuring that, and making sure we have a good trade agreement with them, because we don't want to be in a position like the U.S. is. Now, good thing is most of our economy is based off resources and travel or tourism. There is manufacturing, of course, but we're lucky we're not in the position the United States is in. Let me put it that way. Right now, I'm looking at the United States going, oh, you guys are cooked, because there's no way Donald Trump is going to walk back voluntarily his position on China. Peppers. And they are in a position that no country has ever been in. We're looking at two countries where one has the power to economically wipe out the other. I mean, just look at the resourcefulness of the Chinese population over the last couple of weeks here. They're now on TikTok selling stuff directly to customer, circumventing all the middlemen that be making money in the United States. They're going to remove $3 to $5 trillion worth of US GDP by simply doing business directly with customers, because that money will be going directly to China. It will not be circulating in the US economy. And that is the amount that basically retailers make off of Chinese goods every year. It's between $3 and $5 trillion. So if those goods are not at those retailers, Walmart, Walgreens, all these major department stores, just look around your house, see how many things are made in China. When those are no longer on the US market for those companies to make profits off of, what do you think is going to happen to the employment rate? The unemployment rate specifically. What do you think is going to happen to corporate profits? Do you think these stores are going to be able to keep running when there's 145% tariffs on China? No, they're not going to be able to do it. Will China keep running? Sure. Yeah, they'll survive. It's only 2% of their GDP, right? The US is looking at a position where, 1/6 of their GDP could be wiped out. Potentially a third of their GDP could be completely wiped out if China no longer cooperates with them. And the reality is the Trump administration under the Mar-a-Lago Accord wanted to devalue the US currency while maintaining global reserve currency status, which isn't going to happen. And of course, his followers don't know that they're trying to devalue the currency 20 to 30%, and they're effectively going to have 20 to 30% less money to work with, because anything being imported will be more expensive in terms of what they can afford to buy. So yeah, it's a pretty shitty situation for them, and they're going to fail at this posturing. They can't succeed at it. So yeah, we might actually be witnessing the downfall of a nation in real time, so to speak. I don't feel like it's going to be a slow, drawn-out thing, especially if China decides to go, nope, we're not cooperating anymore, because the U.S. can't sanction them. They can't do anything to them. They're too big. They don't have control over their banks. They don't have control over their currency. There's nothing they can do. There's literally nothing they can do. Yeah, so they're in a... Yeah. Anyways, that's all I got for you.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but just
It's time to speak up. So a few days ago, Stephen Miller said that anyone who preaches hate against America will be deported. And hate, according to Stephen Miller and the Trump regime, is speaking out against the president. Speaking out against the current administration is now, according to this regime, that is preaching hate against America. So here's what I'm going to need all you guys to do. All of you who talk so badly about Joe Biden, everybody that drug President Obama's name through the mud, I'm going to need you guys to go ahead and self-report. The government's sending out letters now to people that they believe need to self-deport. And so I am going to start sending all you guys letters to self-deport, because you've broken the law now. You've broken the law now, according to what President Trump has said the law is. When you speak out against a current administration, when you speak out against a president, apparently that's preaching hate against America. And you guys have been doing that for a long time. So I'm so sorry to tell you, but it's time for you to self-deport, because you have been preaching hate against America. When you spoke out against what you didn't like about President Biden, when you spoke out against what you didn't like about President Obama, apparently that's preaching hate against America. Do you understand how this works now? Can you see for even a second that what we are doing here is not preaching hate against America? It is standing up for what we believe America is. So this goes both ways. You cannot have it that speaking out against an administration is preaching hate against America unless you guys go first, because you've been doing it for a lot longer. So go ahead, I'll give you at least 30 days notice. I think that's what they're giving people, 30 days. That should be enough to wrap up your life and deport yourself to a new place, right? Oh, you're an American citizen? Guess what? According to Stephen Miller, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because anyone includes American citizens. So there you go. Go out there and love your neighbor.
Because you believe something and you say it over and over and over again doesn't make you right. So I posted a video talking about undocumented immigrants, and let me just start right here. It is not illegal immigrant. Saying illegal immigrant is wrong both legally and factually, because you cannot be an illegal person. If they don't have the proper documentation, that is a civil crime, okay? So undocumented immigrant, not illegal immigrant. Ugh. Anyway, undocumented immigrants still have constitutional rights like due process, okay? So that is not up for debate. That is a fact. So all of the people in my comment section screaming at me that I'm spreading misinformation, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Felons can vote in most states. Felons also have rights. Inmates have rights. I've been screaming about that my 7-year-long online career. Now I have to scream about the fact that undocumented immigrants actually have constitutional rights. It is not hard to Google that just to fact check me. I don't get shit right all the time. I have to fact check things constantly. But saying that they don't have constitutional rights because they came here illegally is not accurate. And just because you come here illegally does not mean that you are an illegal immigrant. You are an undocumented immigrant. It's like if I break the law and I'm speeding, that is a traffic violation. There's different sectors and levels of law. If you think that the Trump administration is going to stop with just undocumented immigrants and he's not going to go after other people, you are dead wrong.
Criminals next. Yeah. I said homegrown's are next. The homegrown's built. You got to build about 5 more places. Yeah, that's fair. All right. If it's a homegrown criminal, I have no problem. Now, we're studying the laws right now. Pam is studying. If we can do that, that's good. And
there is no law that will allow him to deport U.S. citizens that break the law. There is no law that covers that, to the best of my knowledge. I'm not a lawyer. I just common fucking sense. He's a felon. I don't understand why everyone doesn't see the problem here. He also wants to make sure that people that are not U.S. citizens don't vote, and that's not a problem. It's a non-issue issue because 0.003% of people vote when they are not U.S. citizens. It's like 500 people out of 170 million American voters. So that's not a problem. But he wants to make sure that you have documentation saying that you were born in America. So your driver's license doesn't say that. Military ID doesn't say that. You don't have to disclose your immigration status to law enforcement. Actually, up when cops ask questions, okay? You don't have to disclose that information to them, but by making us all have little things on our ID saying that we were born in America, it's giving something that I think maybe we're forgetting about in our history, you know, as humans. And I'll end with this quote. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. That is the quote at the end of the Holocaust Museum. Have a good day.
I want to read the list.
Why is this country going down the toilet real fast? That's easy. That's because the poorly educated people in this country who are addicted to lies and addicted to propaganda elected a man who's addicted to lying, addicted to power, and addicted to other things that are flying out his nose, who appointed a man who's addicted to Special K, who's taken things away from hardworking Americans to give to wealthy people, who also appointed a man who is addicted to Mr. Brownstone to be the head of Health and Human Services, who also appointed a man who's addicted to alcohol to be the Secretary of Defense, who also had the loyalty of plenty of other addicts do his lying and dirty work for him to help him take this country down by implementing Project 2025, written by people who are addicted to gambling. In this country, you need to take a drug test to be a truck driver, but not to make decisions that impact millions of people. That shit's got to change.
I was talking to a MAGA cult today on a live. And I went over the history of this country, telling them that America hasn't been great. America's not great. It's never been great for everybody. I went over, slavery and how this country was designed for 21-year-old white men that owned land to have rights, and how the 3/5 clause, and how women didn't have credit and couldn't have no-fault divorce, how Asians were put in internment camps. And he said, I agree with some of what you're saying. I said, I didn't ask you to agree with it. That's history. It's not open to opinion. That's what happened. Well, progress is happening. See, that's a privileged thing to say. Because my demographic has never been told I couldn't drink from a water fountain, or sit on a bus, or forced to pick somebody's cotton, or told I couldn't vote, or I couldn't have credit. Never had a protest just to be equal as someone that looks like me. And that's what you MAGA people don't understand, or you just don't give a shit about. Or it's a combination of both. We're progressing. We're not perfect. No. I got snappy with them too, because that's such a BS argument. This country was designed this way. It's not like this country was designed where everybody was treated equally, and then over the course of history, maybe it became more racist or discriminatory. It was designed that way since day one. And they don't want to admit that. They don't want to be told that America is not great and it never has been great for everybody. Because that truth interferes with their version of white America, where they wake up to Freedom Wheaties and they do the Pledge of Allegiance before they eat their Freedom Wheaties, and then they feed their pet bald eagle, then they go to work with their 1776 painted on their truck and 48 American flags and their Donald Trump shirt and their Donald Trump condoms and their Donald Trump shoes and their American flag hat, and they think that somehow that makes them a patriot. But when someone like me asks them about the actual history of this country, they don't want to hear about it. And that's what we're fighting right now. Part of this country, more people that look like me, I pray to God, are going to say what I just said because it needs to be said every damn day. And you have part of this country, in my demographic, that are just ignorant. And they only want to maintain the white supremacist foundation of this country. That's what all this is about. It's not about taxes or tariffs. This is about the white male patriarchy. Period. End of story. That's not open for discussion or debate. Those are just facts. Now, if you don't like that, that's too damn bad. That's on you. Then you give us a year when it was great for everybody in this country. Go ahead, we'll wait. I imagine we'll be waiting for a damn long time because you're never going to come up with it. And the fact that you won't even take 5 seconds to think about maybe that American flag that you worship and adore like it's a religious church, maybe someone that doesn't look like you and I 150 years ago, 100 years ago, didn't have the same rights and don't see that flag as a symbol of freedom. Maybe, just maybe, they see it as a symbol of oppression. I dare you to walk in someone else's shoes for a minute and think about that. And look up actual history. Go look up Black Wall Street. Have a good day.